When Jalaluddin Rumi spoke his poems spontaneously in Persian in the 13th century, there was always music nearby. There had to be. Because the poetry was part and the music were part of an experiment they did with the deep listening or sama. And that listening was meant to remind us of what a healthy soul feels like, what the opening heart might be, and what it is to access an intelligence within and perhaps without our personality. So it is good to have music close by. And you might even have a little Bach with the cello of David Darling. Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the study and begin reading. Take down a musical instrument. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. I am so small, I can barely be seen. How can this great love be inside me? That's the question. How can this great love be inside me? And he answers it. Look at your eyes. They are small, but they see enormous things. I am so small, I can barely be seen. How can this great love be inside me? Look at your eyes. They're small, but they see enormous things. People ask me how I got involved with the poetry of Rumi. How does a Presbyterian from Chattanooga get involved with the greatest poet of Islam in the 13th century? There are three strands to the answer of that question. One of them is very credible and involves my meeting with the American poet Robert Bly. He handed me in June of 1976, he handed me a volume of translations of Rumi and said, these poems need to be released from their cages. And what he meant was that they needed to be rephrased out of their stiff translationese language into something more kin to the great American tradition of free verse that has come down to us through Whitman and William Carlos Williams and Galway Connell. And so Robert, well, that was a writing exercise, but I took it as a different kind of thing. I felt like I was entering a new area and breathing new air. It's like I felt this sublime sort of relaxation come over me. And I used it when I got back home here to Athens, Georgia. I used it as a way to come out of my analytic thinking and talking every day, 3 classes. I would go, after the 3rd class, I would go up to the Bluebird Cafe in downtown Athens and order some hot tea and sit there and rephrase Rumi for about an hour on the backs of their ordering pads. So I still have those ordering pads. So this was one strand that for me, it was not anything about publishing. It was a soul growth practice. And I did it for about 7 years, mostly, I mean, just about every day. And before I published a book called Open Secret with a little press up in Putney, Vermont. And the second strand of how I got involved with Rumi involves the way that we are led and get advised in dreams. On May the 2nd, 1977, I had a dream. I was sleeping out, and I was not actually, I dreamed I was sleeping outdoors on a bluff above the Tennessee River where I grew up. And a ball of light rose off of Williams Island and came over me and clarified from the inside out. And there was a man there inside the ball of light. He had his head bowed, and he raised his head. He said, "I love you." And I said, "I love you too." I felt the landscape filled with moisture. That was natural. The dew was forming, but I felt the formation of the dew in my own body. And the moisture was love. A year and a half later, I met this man. You all can believe this or not. You know, I don't have that luxury because it happened to me. No. I met Bawa Muhyiddin in Philadelphia a year and a half later. And I would go up there and tell him my dreams. And I say, I would tell him the dream. He would say, "You don't need to tell me that. I was there." I don't know how that works, you know, but there are people who live on other levels of awareness than I'm on anyway. So that is the second strand. I don't think that I would have much idea of what goes on in Rumi's poetry if I hadn't had that connection to Bawa Muhyiddin. The third strand that connects me with Rumi's poetry is more provable, I guess. It involves a childhood joke that I didn't get until recently. I grew up on the campus of a boys' school. My father was headmaster, and I was a geography freak when I was about 6 years old. I knew all the capitals of all the countries in the Rand McNally 1943 atlas. And as I went across the quadrangle to dinner, teachers would call out names of countries, and I would yell back the capital. So they would yell Bulgaria, and I would say Sofia. and they would yell Uruguay, and the little smart aleck kid would say Montevideo. I never missed, and this perfection went on until the Latin teacher, James Pennington, decided it had gone on long enough. He went down in his basement classroom and got a country that didn't seem to have a capital. And he yelled it out across the quadrangle. He said, Cappadocia, Cappadocia. And he said, the look on my face when I went through my perfect brain and couldn't find it, named me. So from then on, he called me Cappadocia. And people still call me Cappadocia in Chattanooga or Cap. And I almost fell down a few years ago when I realized that the capital, the central city in that region of Anatolia was Iconium or Konya, where Rumi lived and is buried. So I didn't know, I still don't know the capital of Cappadocia. But so I was named for my ignorance for what I didn't know. And I like that. One of the Rumi's insights is that there is a core of longing in every human being. And this core, nobody knows what the core of longing is for. In this poem, he says, the longing is for the longing itself. One night, a man was crying, Allah, Allah, Allah. His lips grew sweet with the praising until a cynic said, so, I have heard you calling out, but have you ever gotten any response? The man had no answer for that. He quit praising and fell into a confused sleep where he dreamed he saw Hitter, the guide of souls, in a thick green foliage. Why did you stop praising? Why did you stop praising? Because I never heard anything back. This longing you express is the return message. The grief you cry out from draws you toward union. Your pure sadness that once helped is the secret cup. Listen to the moan of a dog for its master. Listen to the moan of a dog for its master. That whining is the connection. There are love dogs no one knows the names of. Give your life to be one of them. One night a man was crying, Allah, Allah. One night a woman was crying, Allah, Allah. Rumi's poetry sprang spontaneously from the work that he was doing with a dervish learning community in Konya, Turkey. The work of that was tending to the health of the soul. And they did it in many ways. One was just by expressing the natural ecstasy of being alive. Rumi says that just being in a body and sentient is cause for rapture. He also says that form itself, form, is ecstatic. That is, there's a shimmering excitement in form itself. In another place, he says there are three ways of approaching the divine mystery. One is prayer. A step up from that is meditation. And a step up from that is conversation, which is a kind of inner-outer exchange with that being they call the friend, or the soul, or the heart, or the beloved. That exchange is very healthy for the soul. He says it gives you generosity and modesty and strength and handsomeness and eloquence. And what the Sufis always symbolize by the opening of the rose, that mystery of the opening of the heart. So here's his poem about the opening of the heart. It's good for us to realize and try to respond as he does to the opening of the rose. In this period of sectarian violence, surely the opening heart is the way out of it. Yeah. What was said to the rose that made it open was said to be here in my chest. What was told the cypress that made it strong and straight. What was whispered to jasmine, so it is what it is. Whatever made sugarcane sweet. Whatever was said to the inhabitants of the town of Chigil in Turkestan that makes them so handsome. Whatever lets the pomegranate flower blush like a human face, that's happening to me. I blush. Whatever put eloquence in language, that's happening here. The great warehouse doors open and I fill with gratitude, chewing a piece of sugar cane, in love with the one to whom every that belongs. What was said to the rose that made it open was said to me here in my chest. What was told the cypress, what was whispered to jasmine, whatever lets the pomegranate flower blush, whatever puts eloquence in language, that's happening here. Don't you love it in the middle of the poem where the poet says, you want to hear what eloquence is? I'm doing it now. Whatever put eloquence in language. That's happening here. The great warehouse doors open and I fill with gratitude, chewing a piece of sugar cane. Sing it, man.
Essa Yeah. So good.
Beautiful.
Yeah. To tell y'all about meeting Coleman Barks.
No.
Came to Asheville and Malprops, and I was so excited to meet him. And he looked just like he looked here. And so I was the last person in line. I was waiting for him to sign my book, and so I said to him when I got to him, I said, "Oh, you look just like Santa Claus." I meant it in like the best way, you know. I just meant like these little rosy cheeks and white beard, and he just got the worst look on his face. And I realized I had offended him, and I didn't mean to. I was trying to compliment him, and I told this story to Charlie Gardner, who knows Coleman Barks and who got Coleman Barks to agree to let me record some of his poems on my CD. Thank God he didn't realize I was the woman who told him he looked like Santa Claus. And Charlie Gardner says, "Oh, you really upset him because he thinks he's like a Casanova. So for you to tell him that he looks like Santa Claus was like, you know, devastating to him." Yeah. That's me meeting Coleman Barks. But I'm you know, his teacher was a Sufi teacher, and David Wilcox here in Asheville had the same Sufi teacher. So they did zikr here for several years under the tutelage of that particular Sufi teacher, who has since passed, who lived in Philadelphia. So they're part of our lineage, of course, since Baba is technically part of the Sufi lineage.
Baba says he's the only Sufi.
Yeah. I know that was a very controversial thing that he got talked into saying yes to, you know, heading up the American Sufi order. That was a big deal. I guess y'all know that, you know, Rumi really did not write poetry until Shams of Tabriz, who was the person he had asked for. His soul companion was either killed or run out of town. He did not write poetry until that happened. And so his poetry really was born out of his love for Shams and his grief that his son and some of his disciples, you know, were so concerned and jealous that they either killed Shams or they hurt him very badly, that he left and made him leave. And was never seen again. So I mean, that's something to think about, you know, that we can take something so devastating as our soul companion being murdered by someone that we love, and then letting something good come out of that. So if anyone would like to comment, we can talk about that. Otherwise, I'll jump into reading a little bit of Josephine Ross's poetry. Who was a Baba follower many years ago. And Tina has this book, but it's this is a copy of it. This is its second edition. And I'll just read a little piece about her, and then I'll read some of her poetry. She was born in 1907 in New York City. She was the daughter of a geology and paleontology professor at Columbia. And her mother was involved in literature. Josephine met Mir Baba during his first visit to the States at Harmon-on-Hudson in 1931. And many of the poems in this book resulted from that meeting. She married Baba lover Kenneth Ross, who first met Baba in England in 1931. And Kenneth and Josephine lived on a farm in New Jersey with their 3 daughters, and Elaine Cox knows one of the daughters, and I think Tina also.
Yeah, she's right here in Myrtle Beach. And
Yes.
North Village, yeah, and Russ.
Yes.
Yeah, I
And
talked about inviting her to our group.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that would be lovely. And so Josephine died in 1998 in her daughter's home in Lake Luzerne in New York. So these are really poems mostly to Baba. Some of them are dedicated to other people, but they're mostly dedicated to Baba. And they're very different from the kind of poems that we typically read today. They're mostly rhyming poems, and they use the phrase thy and thee, which was common in that time. So it might throw your ear a little bit, but there's a lovely cadence to it. There's a lovely kind of sing-song quality to her poetry that, if you can kind of go with the flow of it, is actually quite charming, I would say, and lovely. I'm gonna just turn a light on so I can see better. This one is called "Thy Beauty, Lord, is like 1,000 blossoms." Thy beauty, Lord, is like 1,000 blossoms that lift their fragrant petals to the night. And all the myriad jewels of the stars are pale beside the radiance of your light. Thy purity is like a crystal lake, reflecting on its surface, calm and still. A crescent moon and all thy true perfection, the lonely deserts of my heart doth fill. Let me kneel in rapture now before thee and gaze forever on thy radiant face, eternally enchanted by thy beauty, uplifted and enlightened by thy grace. For in thy presence there is joy forever, and from earthly fetters sweet release. Let me kneel in spirit now before thee and lightly touch thy shining robe of peace. And if you want, I can read that without thys and these so you can hear it in sort of modern language. I actually did it to myself.
Oh, it's okay.
I read it that way to myself just to see how I felt about it. And I actually like the way she does it. There's something about it that's so old-timey and
Yeah.
and devotional.
I don't even think they said thee and thou in the 30s.
Yeah, I think they maybe said it in poetry, but not in real life. Yeah,
Not in real
I
life.
think you're right about that. Yeah. So this one's called Aspiration. From out of the depths of doubt and fear, I'll raise aloft my dream. Against the sky, like minarets, my thoughts will softly gleam. In silence and in purity, like forests under snow, I'll build a sanctuary for the soul that I long to know. That temple of my dreams shall stand where all the world may see the beauty and the power of the soul I long to be.
Beautiful.
I know they're lovely, aren't they?
Mm.
This one's called Reunion. Oh, love, had I forgotten until I saw thee here, down through all the centuries, lonely year on year? Had I forgot thy voice, thy smile, and all thy winning grace? Had I no recollection of the beauty of thy face? But if 'twere so, why did I then come running at thy call? My heart had not forgotten thee, who art my all in all. This is one called The Garden of Delight. The strong wind blows across the snow, beloved, and the stars are cold in the winter night. But oh, beloved, in my heart, I have prepared a garden of delight for thee. There roses bloom, and hidden in the grass are violets and sweet anemones. There from a scented wood, the thrush pours forth his liquid song of love. The sheep tuck in their tails and huddle together, heads down, facing the storm. Over them, the blizzard rages and the snow drifts high beside my window. But in my heart, beloved, there is sunshine and the songs of birds, and a brook wanders lazily through the meadows where daisies and buttercups nod in the gentle breeze. And in a pool under the weeping willow, a fish leaps up, his iridescent scales flashing like rainbows. Oh, beloved, on the earth is winter, but in my heart perpetual summer reigns. For where thou art is love and life, the perfume of roses, the fragrance of myriad blossoms. In the world of man, beloved, there is war, but in my heart a garden of delight, for thou art there. And where thou art, beauty adorns her temple, and love guards well the gate.
Mm.
Mhm.
I think Ruth might have read that this morning at Artie because
Oh,
she didn't know how to pronounce anemones.
oh,
Like, what are they? And so I told her anemones are flowers.
yeah, they're beautiful flowers. They're really beautiful. I love anemones. There's actually, she uses the word anemone in several of her poems. No, I can't say
Could have
it.
been another poem that had that same word in it. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
That's one of my favorite poems that she wrote, by the way. I love it.
Thank you.
This was called He Whom I Love Forever. Out of millions and millions of people, there is one whom I love the best, who in goodness and wisdom and beauty towers above the rest. One face out of millions of faces, one smile that responds to mine, one heart that is filled with compassion and beating with love divine. The prison walls were about me and chains bound down on my feet, yet would my heart go soaring that beautiful one to greet. Though my soul were fettered and shackled with darkest sin and pain, yet would my heart leap forward to praise my Lord again. He never can really leave me, no matter where he may roam, for my thoughts shall go forth like beacons, guiding the wanderer home. The thousands of miles are between us, yet are we never apart, for he whom I love forever is imprisoned here in my heart. She has several poems in here about hoping that Baba needs her. And I thought that was so interesting, because it's such a common feeling that we have. The one that we love, we hope, needs us as much as we need them. So it's an interesting idea, that she wanted Baba to need her. This one's called Baba Visits Cairo, December 1932. Utter silence holds the desert now. The sun burns down upon a world of sand, where rise the pyramids against the sky, tombs of the king who ruled this ancient land. How many years since they were laid to rest beneath these stones, men come from far to see. Well did they build their monuments, thereby hoping their names would not forgotten be. What secrets could their mummy lips reveal? What priceless treasure of an ancient lore? How rich in wisdom might the world be? Could they return and speak to men once more? But now comes one to whom all things are known. More powerful than any king is he. And silently he looks upon the tombs of those great rulers of antiquity. O pharaohs, sleep no more. Awake, arise. The King of Kings has come to Egypt land. who walks beside the river that you loved and leaves his footprints in the burning sand. Rejoice, O desert people near and far. This Pharaoh comes to rule from realms above, and conquerors, not with armies and the sword, but by the purity, by the power of purity and love. Tina, would you like to read one? You've got the book.
Yeah, I was just getting lulled into
I know, there's something
Peppery.
lovely about her poetry. I'm gonna let you, I'll be right back, but carry on.
My love came to me unaware, yet while I was asleep, and offered me a golden gift to cherish and to keep. Oh, would that I had been awake to thank him as I ought, to give him something in return for that great gift he brought. I know not what this treasure is he brought me in the night, nor can I pierce its mystery until the morning light. And now I can no longer rest and watch with eager eyes to see the first faint streak of light against the morning skies. Perhaps when dawn has come at last, he'll pass this way again. And oh, suppose he says to me, I have returned to say, I'm sorry, let me read that one again. Perhaps when dawn has come at last, he'll pass again this way. And oh, suppose he says to me, I have returned to stay. I'll run to open wide the door and bid him dwell with me, that I may serve and worship him throughout eternity. I think some of her later poems are nice too, like this one. Oh, thin white plain, Oh, thin white flame of purity that burns upon the altar of that mystic shrine. Within his heart, I lift to thee. I'm sorry, boy, I'm having trouble. Let me start again. Oh, thin white flame of purity that burns upon the altar of that mystic shrine within his heart. I lift my heart to thee, that perfect beauty may also be mine. O self-control that hewed those lines of strength and power now reflected in his face. Let all thy granite courage overflow from him to me and my weakness to replace. He knows the coward that I am. He knows how weak I stumble through the night. And only he can know the goal I seek, his beauty, his serenity, his light.
Thank you. You read that so beautifully.
I'm going to try it 3 times. So you might have missed the other 2 bad.
So maybe we can close with a Rumi poem. It's 8 o'clock. Here's one that I've memorized that I love. He actually read the first 4 lines from this, and then he made a medley of several poems. Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the study and begin reading. Take down a musical instrument. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill with the 2 worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. I would love to kiss you. The price of kissing is your life. Now, my love is running towards my life, shouting, "What a bargain! Let's buy it." Daylight, filled with small dancing particles in the one great turning. Without feet, we dance. Can you see them when I whisper in your ear? All day and night. Music. A quiet, bright reed song. When it fades, we fade. Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the study and begin reading Facebook. Take down a musical instrument. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground.
You inspire me to pick up my musical instrument.
Oh, do you want to play something for us to close us out?
Well, okay. Let me just get the music over here.
Is that a kalimba?
It's an auto harp.
Oh, lovely.
Sorry, I get it in the right position. I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the avatar discloses, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.
Thank you. My grandmother used to sing that song. I love it. Love
It's a
hearing it.
beautiful song.
Beautiful
You
song.
sang that really beautifully, Tina. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
did. Thank you.